Before we get started with today's interview, just a quick reminder, click the thumbs up, make sure you subscribe and ding the bell so that you don't miss any of the great interviews that we have coming up. Now, on to today's interview. Welcome back, everybody. Today, my special guest is composer Scott Price. Welcome, Scott.
Hello, Sam.
And today we're discussing Scott's piece, Kanga Joey. You can find it at tomgirouxmusic.com. I am so excited to talk with you about Kanga Joey. It is such a fun piece. And right away, as I was sight reading it, I can hear that baby kangaroo hopping. And we get a chance to play some grace notes in this piece, some staccatos, lots of great exposure to techniques for developing pianists. Talk to us about putting together this piece.
I think the whole impetus behind this piece was things that a student would need to learn at this level. Grace notes, certainly, and then moving around the keyboard. And I wanted to make sure that we had patterns that were somewhat static, but that were not boring because of the articulations that were there. And the patterns, I wanted to make sure they happened for a long enough period of time that the student had time to prepare and look where they were going to go on the keyboard to move. And as far as the grace notes go, these are pretty static clusters, C, D flat, E flat, and the C is a grace note. So the way I usually teach my students to do those is we block it first, and they love the next part because I say, okay, this is the only time I'm ever going to tell you that you can make a mistake and be sloppy. And then they just be a little bit sloppy to let the grace note happen, be separated, and they think that's really great that they are allowed to make a mistake in their piano lessons.
That is really fun. I was going to ask you about how you approach that with your students. What an innovative way to do it, and what a neat way to frame it, that you get to do this. This is a privilege and not you have to learn how to do this difficult thing. So I love that invitation to have permission to do something that's maybe otherwise forbidden. What a cool reframing. This piece, students get to explore using the pedal just a little bit. And there's, while it's not overlapping pedal, so it's not particularly difficult, there is some rhythmic pedal which is required. How do you approach that with your students?
A lot of the problem in my mind with the pedaling is just, it's a whole body thing where you're trying to coordinate so many gross and fine motor skills at the same time. So I like to use a lot of those words like same time for foot and hand together, because it's only one small thing the student has to think about to make that happen. It's not separate. And then for syncopated pedaling, it's just hand, foot, late. You're allowed to be late with your foot. Because, you know, that it's a visual problem because we don't indicate that in the music at all. And so the students are literally going to see one thing and do it when we want them to do something else. And so I either white it out and then write the pedal marking in late, or we just talk about that this is just the way we do it. Your foot can be late and you won't get in trouble.
Again, I love that invitation to do something that's maybe a little bit forbidden, and it turns something that might otherwise be onerous into something that feels really fun, and it's a special privilege.
It sticks in their mind, and so we don't have to address it again. Or if I do, I just say, "Are you going to do it wrong today?" Sure you are.
That's so cool. What an amazing thing. So what challenges did you face as you wrote Kanga Joey?
Oh, I think it's how to keep repetition from being boring. And I tried to do that by moving around the keyboard, by adding a little bit of pedal, maybe a little bit of legato here and there. So I think that's the biggest challenge when I've got a rhythmic motive, is how do I keep that from just becoming grating on the fingers? And how do I keep that kind of repetitive motion with the body moving so that it doesn't become dangerous in terms of tension in the arms and in the hands and in the fingers. So I always want to try and write something that might suggest follow through with a larger movement, and that might allow the hand to relax. So I do think about that a lot.
Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like us to know about Kanga Joey?
Oh, just I hope it's fun. I hope it's bouncy, and I hope the title, might prick up a student's ears a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today, Scott Price. My guest has been Scott Price. His piece is Kanga Joey. You can find it at tomgirouxmusic.com. If you found today's video helpful, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Sam.